The desire to avoid negative consequences of prohibition. If individuals are going to support marijuana law reform, they must believe that there are negative consequences associated with the status quo. Traditional reform advocates have generally focused all of their attention on this part of the equation in their attempts to build majority support for legalization. They frame the issue by appealing to one's sense of justice. Patients who need marijuana shouldn't have to find their medicine on the streets. Or by articulating the current law's impact on society as a whole. Prohibition has created a dangerous criminal market, or we are wasting law enforcement resources arresting marijuana users. This is the strategy MPP employed in Nevada in 2002 and 2006. While these arguments are effective in the sense that they can marginally drive up an individual's score on the pro-reform side of the equation, the reality is that this rhetoric may not be particularly persuasive for many Americans. For example, some Americans may believe in theory that it is a waste of law enforcement resources to go after individuals for possessing small amounts of pot. However, they may be dubious that these efforts legitimately prevent police from combating more serious crimes. Likewise, many Americans may believe that our society would benefit from the revenues derived from the sale of marijuana. That said, their support for legalization may still be offset by their concerns about the perceived negative consequence of more widespread marijuana use. In order to dramatically increase the public's scores on the pro-reform side of the equation, proponents of marijuana regulation must make a much stronger case that marijuana prohibition is producing definite negative outcomes. We can do this by explaining how the prohibition of marijuana, a recreational alternative that is less harmful than alcohol, is literally driving Americans to drink. In turn, the widespread and encouraged use of alcohol increases the likelihood of domestic abuse, sexual assault, and other forms of violence, and is producing serious negative health outcomes, including overdose deaths. In other words, our current laws are perpetuating a society that is demonstrably less safe for our sons and daughters. This personalizes the debate. The question is no longer whether voters can live with the negative consequence of misplaced law enforcement priorities, for example. It is a question of whether they want their children living in a world where acts of violence are more likely. We believe that this message can ultimately help tip the scales in favor of legalization.